Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review. Going to talk about the new 4K edition of the 2007 film, Stardust. Being a huge Neil Gaiman fan and having read the book, when the movie came out back in 2007, I was there. I was in the theater. I was there opening day. I was excited. It was good. It did pretty good at the box office. Wound up making about $137 million on a $70 to $88 million budget. Not bad for the dude's second movie. For those that don't know about Stardust, it was directed by Matthew Vaughan. This was his second movie after Layer Cake. He went on to direct several of the best X-Men movies, and of course the Kingsman movies and more. He recently directed Argyle, which didn't do so well. But anyway, this was him at the beginning of his career. He had done Layer Cake. He had become kind of a critical darling because he had made a movie that was on par with like some of the other indie hits at the time. Had that Train Spotting / Guy Ritchie kind of feel anyway. So this is that epic fantasy type movie that we would fully appreciate now. Like, I think this was way ahead of its time. It tells the story of a young man who goes on a fool's errand to get something very, very special for the woman he loves, who really doesn't love him. And he goes past this wall into this mysterious land that nobody is ever supposed to go to catch a fallen star. The fallen star turns out to be Claire Danes, and they go off on an adventure together to try and come back and impress this girl. And that's the gist of the story. But it plays out with all sorts of fantasy elements with pirates and unicorns and flying ships and all sorts of stuff. It's very well done. The special effects are very good for the time. I remember this movie in 2007. It doesn't seem that long ago, but it was. And then it finally got like a Blu-ray release later that year. It won a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation, and overall it's remembered fondly. Look at this cast. Claire Danes, Charlie Cox, yes, long before he was Daredevil. Sienna Miller, Ricky Gervais, Jason Fleming, Rupert Everett, Peter O'Toole, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Robert De Niro. It's a pretty spectacular cast by any stretch of the imagination. I honestly do think the movie was ahead of its time. It is not quite the recent Dungeons & Dragons movie. It's not quite Princess Bride, which I think is what it was kind of sold as. And it was probably closer to Princess Bride than any of the other fantasies that people were trying to pigeonhole it into at the time. It just didn't really have a place because it didn't fit in with what we knew. Wasn't really Lord of the Rings, so what were they going to do with it? Wasn't Harry Potter. Anyway, as time has gone on and rewatching it the other night, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. I understand why it's more of a cult classic than a big hit, but I think if audiences watch it now, they'll get a full new appreciation of it. There were some jokes in the movie that were over my head at the time. And this is not that long ago, kids, but I'm watching it now going, oh, I remember that from the book more than I remembered it from the first time I saw the movie. Hadn't watched the movie in years. The new 4K presentation is really good. It looks like a movie. Paramount did another great transfer where it does have a little film grain. It does have a moderate amount of some green screenish type stuff, but overall, it looks better than I expected it. It's got a DTS HD soundtrack, which is very, very good. It would be nice to have some kind of object-based, Dolby Atmos or DTS X, but we can't have everything. And that this, like a lot of Paramount releases like Dragon Slayer and a few others, was one of those movies you never thought would come out in 4K, much less to get not one, but two beautiful steelbooks. There is a regular steelbook out there that looks great. It's fantastic artwork. And then there is a Walmart exclusive. They cost the same, and they basically have the same internals, the same digital copy, the same discs and all that, but the artwork is different. I picked up the Walmart version, and I love it. And I've seen people picked up the other version. I'm not one of those who would buy every copy of a movie when it comes out, although I'm thinking that Daredevil Wolverine, he's got 2 steelbooks coming out for that movie. Anyway, I only bought the one, but really, no matter which way you go, is there a regular version? I didn't even look to see if there was a regular version. The steelbooks are beautiful. Buy one of the steelbooks if you're going to buy the movie. If you are a Neil Gaiman fan, this is right up your alley. It's a good adaptation of the book. If you're a Matthew Vaughan fan, you're going to have a lot of that stuff you like from the Kingsman and some of his other movies are here, just earlier versions of it. There's some great action sequences. There's some great dialogue. There's some funny stuff. All in all, it's a fantasy, the kind of which we don't get anymore and would really go over well these days. It would almost be nice to get a theatrical re-release, but it didn't make enough money to me to even get a 4K release, but here we are. So it's recently available. It's probably on streaming services. If you've never seen Stardust, I highly recommend it if you're looking for a romantic fantasy kind of movie. It's very well done. I can see why Charlie Cox got roles after this, but why was he kind of gone for a long time before he popped back up as Daredevil? I mean, I know he was in other things, but this was a major leading man role, and he's not even listed on the front cover because of, well, Claire Danes and Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert De Niro, of course. It was also one of the last, if not the last, roles for Peter O'Toole, and he's basically a cameo in the movie. But all in all, I think it's a good 4K transfer. Not the best thing I've seen all year, but man, it looks really good for a film I didn't expect much out of. Sounds fantastic. Got a few extras on the Blu-ray. All in all, it's worth picking up if you like this movie. And if you've never seen it, well, put it on your list. Stardust by Neil Gaiman, in its movie adaptation, is definitely worth your time. And a nice package to pick up if you can find one. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. There are many more podcasts on the way. Sorry this was short. I just didn't want to get into spoilers. A lot of people haven't seen this movie. As I bring it up, people are like, I don't remember that movie. Well, it made $137 million at 2007 money. That's pretty good. Not bad for a weird fantasy movie, just not enough to, it's not on streaming every day, is it? Anyway, check out Stardust. I loved it. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. Thanks for taking the time to listen to a podcast. Have a spectacular day.